Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wednesday, 19th of November. So, let's start off. I believe that we have some data coming out. Sorry, I was just reading the English data. Not that it really matters, so I'm not even going to talk about it. So today we have FOMC at 8 p.m. UK. So that'll be in the afternoon for you East Coasters, probably 2, I believe, if it's 5 hours difference. And then tomorrow, I believe we have CPI. No, do we have CPI? No, non-farm payrolls, existing home sales, initial jobless claims, all relatively quite big data. And then we have some Japan stuff coming out on Friday, but I don't think that's that important. I know people were talking about the carry trade, but yeah. And then we have, I don't know, some data coming out Friday. So tomorrow should be some increased volatility for trading if you're looking to, trade that sort of volatility. In terms of the max pain, we're sitting relatively closer to the... How are we right now? What? 91.4. We're a lot closer to the long max pain on the higher time frames. Sitting at around just underneath 80, just around 89k, just underneath 90. So 89.2, 89.3. With the short max pain, is sitting quite a lot higher at 97. So in terms of liquidity, we have a bit of stuff to the downside. We've obviously, stacked so much stuff to the upside. But we're still in a bit of a free-for-all, unfortunately. So yeah, there's actually very locally not a lot of stuff, but there is a lot of stuff once you get down to 84k. And to the upside, very simply, there's a nice big pocket at 97.6. Pretty much all the way up, and there's a bit of a gap at 103.5. So yeah, that's about it. In terms of the volume node, I would say that, where we got rejected from at 90, let's call it like 95.5 to 96k. 96k is the volume node. So we actually already rejected from it here, as you can see. We actually rejected from it many, many times. So one rejection. Let me just zoom in and take the footprint off. I mean, it's kind of hard to see on this chart. 2, and then literally from that candle you got 3 there. So you got 3 rejections there, and then a really weak test of the underside. So it just looks really weak at the moment, to be honest. Extremely. Long to short ratio, definitely. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. We got a high read of 78%. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember the last time I've seen it this high. Usually when it gets this high to either direction, what I've seen that happens a lot is that it kind of ends with one really big candle to that side where most of the positions are. So if there's more longs, it'll go to the downside, or if there's more shorts, it'll go to the upside, and that will sort of start to balance it out, and that will actually have the change in the long to short ratio. So that could coincide with a big fast move down to 84, 85k, or maybe even 80k before that actually switches. But it does, I mean, the weekly still looks like it's completely diverging, but the daily does look like it's starting to taper off a bit. I mean, we did say that recently around 100k. However, we just got a really weak bounce to the underside retest. So watch for a test of 101. I don't think we're going to go much higher than 101 at this moment in time. There's potential to come up to 106, but those are still the areas for bearish retesting. I think we talked about that on Monday, really. And yeah, that's about it for the data. Oh, what's happening with your stream? Is the Discord stream good? Can everyone hear me? What's that, bro? Come on. Everything seems to be working on my end. I think Discord's having some problems this week, so we might just do a really quick one. Good on my side? Okay for me? Oh, okay, so it's just Adrian. Let's just smash through some stuff because Discord's bugging yesterday. And the day before, really. Oops. Okay, let's go back to that. Let's do that. Just gotta remember to do everything. Okay. Daily time frame. Bitcoin. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna turn off auto charting tools just because you kind of know where the support is. It's just around the 86, around 84, 85k. Currently dropped this level where again I did think we were going to get a bounce potentially to up to 100 and then step ladder again, another one down. Doesn't look like like that right now. We are in super oversold conditions, so we're in the oversold area of the daily time frame. Let me just have a look and see if we are in the combination band as well. Yeah, but this is just step laddering down because it doesn't look like it wants to stop anytime soon. So in general, the downside is very much still intact until we can gain sort of like 94.5 on the daily. This like little swing on the daily would be the first retest to get you back up to 101 and potentially even 106. But until that happens, we're going to go further and further down. But yeah, really, there is a big stuber on in this area, and there's going to be a lot of buying pressure. So really, until we get there's just a lot of selling volume, sort of in between 108 and 116, and I don't expect us to get past that, for a couple of years really. I think 120, like 121 to 124 is not a target for me anymore. A high target would probably be 115 to 116. That's if we start to regain levels. The targets right now to sure are 101 and 106 potentially. Maybe even more locally at like 90, 96-ish. But yeah, just in a downtrend. Nothing else to say. Target's going to be 85, potentially 80k. Pretty much the same as Monday. Nothing's changed. Let's just have a look at PAX GE, which seems to be steadily going back to the upside. Since the start of November, we've started to create some basing structure, and that new high mid-November with a nice higher low across. I don't even know why I have these lines on, to be honest. I think they were just a swing. Means that we've started an uptrend, and this is now. So let's put the line on. I don't know why I'm talking about PAX G. I guess it's just quite important. That's kind of now, this is kind of what you don't want to lose now. Potentially coming up for a slight bearish retest, as we have kind of like broken down. This is what you want to gain back. This low, made a new low, this high resistance. So potentially you could maybe even do a little scout back down. And that would look like something like this from the new low, with a short somewhere around here and a stop somewhere, 0.5 to 1%, depending on your risk tolerance. Potentially could be quite good, but looks quite indecisive, to be honest. You obviously have a new low. If this makes a new high now, again, the trade could still be on in between the 1 and the 115 if it like swing fails and then comes back down for a retest. However, that would be a new uptrend, so watch out for that. Could be kind of interesting though. Let's see what Bitcoin Dom's doing. Kind of like steadily kind of going down. I don't really think that looks that good though. Nothing on the CME. Let's have a look at ETH and ETH Bitcoin. Just take these brushes off and check the chart. Let's make sure no one's Good on my side. Okay, for me, what's up, Plumbo? How you doing, bro? How you doing, Plumbo? Plumbo? So, ETH's actually getting the oversold dot where we are standing, which is quite nice to see. Again, this is kind of not really a signal in itself. We do have bullish divergence. We do have oversold conditions on the daily time frame. Again, the 4-hour is looking like it's starting to slow down on Bitcoin and ETH. However, we just don't really have any like sizable higher high or higher low yet. We still have a lower low and a lower high from here. So I guess, you know, break that or at least come up and like sort of like do some closes above sort of like 3.2 to 3.23, and then we could talk about potential upside. Until then, I mean, there's potential that we could get a bounce. Let me take them brushes off. Oh, we are getting the bounce here. So on Monday, I was talking about 2.9 to 3K potentially being a bounce area. We are right here right now. We got the weekly open that we're trying to regain. It's looking like, again, potential, but we don't really see anything yet. I would like for us to at least close a high above that local one, because then what we'd have is we'd have the low in the overlapping support, and then we'd have, you know, this is a local lower high from there, but then this could be our retest of the lows, and then that could be a new local high, so now that could be a higher low. So anyway, that's, I'm just doing a bit too much there, but we could see some very local trend change starting to happen on some of this stuff. Obviously now that this is what you want to hold, because this is the retest, so you want to go up and make a new high now here and then grab the retest somewhere in here. That's what how you'd want to treat that if you were trying to play the bounce rate. Conversely, if you're trying to play the short side and you think we're going to go down to 2.5, which is very, very possible at this moment in time, you are probably looking at something like, you know, this, or maybe even this. So 1 short, 2 shorts, and then, yeah, maybe even like a 4-hour one all the way down. Sort of something like that. I mean, yeah, that's actually starting to look like it's turning around a little bit. So a couple of interesting things potentially. But other than that, I feel like if you're trying to effectively trade maybe into tomorrow, which is going to be a high volatility event, I would stick to the 5-minute and maybe stick to some just like simple stubers. So for example, there is a 5-minute stuber here where we are actually in, even though we are regaining the weekly open. There's actually a 5-minute stuber short on ETH with a very clear invalidation, which will be this retest failure. So getting above that would invalidate it. I mean, potentially it could go all the way to the 115, but you know, there is actually a potential for failing the weekly open with a daily open as the like upper, like sort of like we don't want to gain the daily open, which is about 1%, which is kind of nice risk for anyone taking trades really. So yeah, that's also available, and I think we'll move on for now from that. ETH Bitcoin kind of looking like it's in support. We are bullishly diverging on the daily time frame as well, getting a lot of trend change in this oversold area. Again, you know, we could have a tiny little run, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be all that, and I've kind of been saying that for like what, a month now or 2 months now. So, and it hasn't come. So, you know, potential area for bounce, getting bullish divergence, but let's just see it translated onto the chart yet. Let's break a new 4-hour high above here and then come in for a nice retest in the weekly open. Then we can talk about potentially longing some alts. But until then, I just don't see it. I just don't see it, guys. You know, it's looking quite bleak. Solana, damn. I'm actually getting an itch to potentially long this quite soon. And the reason why is just because, you know, we've come pretty far down from where I sold my spot. And, you know, the lows from April are sitting around, you know, like 95 and 100 here, which haven't been tagged yet. They are probably going to get tagged. So where's the next low? It's probably this one around here. Something in there. And we have actually tagged that at about 130. So, you know, this whole down move is very controlled selling, and there's not really been that good retests. I do feel like we have some levels to retest above us. Even if it's just like a retest at 155 or sort of like 170, somewhere in here, where we just get a bit of a bounce here and then maybe do another one. But it does kind of feel like we're a bit overdue. We're a bit overdue a bounce. Retail stablecoin demand is bull divvying at the same time. That looks fine. We've got some high leverage stuff, and that comes in. If I just turn off that comes in on the underside retest of the previous structure. So 155 would be a target for me for Solana if we do start to see a little bit of a bounce, especially if this lower time frame, which is starting, it's definitely starting to try to turn around. So we do have a test of the highs right now. What do we need to do? High, low, and then break. That's what we need. That's what we want to see on the hourly or the lower time frame. It will look something like that, and then we'll unlock us a test up to 155 and potentially up to 170. But you know, maybe even up to like 170, 175. But yeah, until then, definitely down, and you could have definitely caught a little short somewhere around here just before I got on. It's just been straight nuke. The best opportunity we had to actually get some sort of bounce was in this structure. With this low, this higher low retest, and then we actually broke a new high here and here until we broke this new lower low and then did that. So yeah, patiently waiting for another chance. If not, we will short. So yeah, that's about it for the big three. In terms of altcoins, we could go through a few of them. Maybe like Hype. I know Asta's doing quite well. 1 hour is the tightest time frame that's done anything bullish. Is the highest time frame that's done anything bullish on Bitcoin. Yeah. I mean, there's just been no this. The 4 hour is very, very weak, and the hourly has actually turned a bit bullish recently. Well, not recently, but it had showed signs of strength in that area, similar to Sol here. But it just didn't really translate to anything meaningful. Or on the 4 hour, we just immediately broke it on this little bit here, and then yeah, it just failed and then slid off a little cliff. So yeah, extremely weak, extremely bearish, a lot of selling pressure in the market at this moment in time. So Asta is actually something which is relatively quite interesting. For the fact that we've kind of broke out and retested this little nub here. So that's kind of the low that you don't want to lose now. This low, sitting at 115. Losing this kind of ruins the whole structure now. But what I do see is I actually see quite a nice breakout and retest. Sort of from, you can kind of see like this is like the big SR. And so, yeah, if given another chance, it would potentially be a bid. With the target up here about 150. So, you know, if you get back down to 120, 115, 110, it's a potential area to bid on Asta with quite a nice, like, if you're trading this on very low leverage, so like maybe like you're on 2x, you could potentially get quite a nice 30% move on this if you play it right. Yeah, so not looking too bad. Got some bearish divergence, so it might have a little bit of a pullback now. But watch that previous daily open and watch the weekly open as well. I think there's a good chance that we could bounce off somewhere in between, somewhere like 115 cents. Apart from that, I don't believe that there is anything really looking that great to potentially trade. We can have a look at that new, like, I was testing out that new sort of strategy with the combination man and liquidations, but it's way better for, it's not good in trending markets because the market will just go, you'll be basically catching a knife. In slightly more ranging markets like hyper is quite right now, it can be a little bit more powerful, and the reason why is because you can get crossovers between high leverage and the combination man, or even like sort of like just leverage and combination man, and that could kind of like carve out your range for you. It basically makes your range for you, and then you could even use like the range fibs like 2.5, 7.5 and 0.5 to actually get a proper range. But anyway, it would kind of look something like this at this moment in time. And then you turn everything off, and then you just go, okay, my short zone's here, my long zone's here. I'm literally just going to wait for a deviation of either. And the reason I kind of like this is the highs are here, the lows are here. If it goes into either liquidation posture, it'll probably be a deviation, or it will start at the new trend. So say we go up here, it will start higher high, and then we'll probably come down for a retest where you can get the long if you're shorting. And conversely to a low, it'll probably, I mean, we've been pretty weak, but hype's actually been quite nice. If it holds this low, it might even do like a higher retest. I might do a lower high, or, you know, there's just many different ways that you can play it out once. If you kind of like block it out like this. But anyway, nothing really too exciting there at all. Actually, we should start making a habit of going to the 5 minutes quickly when looking at stuff. Again, just looks bearish on the 5 minute. Didn't quite get the 786, but you know, could be a larger Stuba actually on this, something like this. And that would also mean the liquidations is in the swing fail area for this potential long setup on hype. So again, potential, nothing too amazing, too crazy. Apart from that, you know, just a bit meh. Damn, alts are really suffering. Check GRT, spinny spin. Okay. I think that's about all I kind of wanted to talk about right now. I'm kind of like just watching the very simple trades right now. And just Sol, ETH, Bitcoin, packs. I am looking at the alts one today, but I just don't really. Oh, I haven't checked my injective short in ages, bro. Hold on. This is the one thing that's up on the day. What? I'm pretty sure I've got a short from here. And it actually came. Oh, I need to get out of that. That's looking like it was to break up right now. This is actually something that's looking not too bad. Hold on. Before I look at GRT. I don't worry, I do remember. But this is piquing my interest a little bit. $4-hour, definitely breaking above on this 4-hour candle right here. This could be a little bit of a change in character. Definitely, this was the higher low, so that's what you don't want to lose now, 6.4. You know what? If this candle closes above here, there's like something like this that you could potentially do for a long. Or yeah, just on the 5 minute, like that. Especially if we start to come back down, this could actually make for a really good long. This is the only altcoin that's showing a bit of relative strength. Sorry, just had to have some water. But yeah, this is actually something that's interesting towards me. As the 4-hour is starting to break out new local highs, we've had a really nice retest of the 4-hour low, which is hold. What am I talking about, man? And the 5 minute also has a really nice Stuba, with quite a nice invalidation. So, well, actually, invalidation is quite tight, but I would maybe try tighten that up. 2% stop, go on 2x lev, risk 6% overall. Yeah, I'm gonna set an alert, potentially set a few bids, and watch that close in 29 minutes. So let's have a look at GRT. USDTB. Oh my god, that looks horrible. It's been a bad year for us altcoin holders, hasn't it? Well, I'd say actually it's been more than a bad year. It's been a bad... Nearly 2 years. 2 years when we got the actual first run, and then since March 24, it's been... Oh. Anyway, Giga bullish divergence. Of course, every single coin has Giga bullish divergence. Kind of coming towards its lows. Actually made a new 12-hour high off this low. So, kind of interesting in that sense. 4-hour low sitting right on it at this moment in time. Local price action, definitely still down. But kind of looks like it's trying to like round bottom with this bullish divergence here. Looks like it's trying to do something like that. Obviously need to kind of pop a previous high to kind of change anything, but there's actually a very clear level, and that is there. Well, actually it would actually be just the local one, wouldn't it? Just because this is that's made a lower low. So yeah, I mean, gain this high and potentially we could talk about a trend change, but until then, what do you have? High, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now, one thing I will say about this is it is kind of looks like it's starting to lose steam, just how ETH and Bitcoin are kind of starting to flatten out. Let's have a look at the delta. Oh boy, that is terrible. Yeah, I don't know, man. Doesn't look great. I'd be watching the hourlies and a lot of this stuff, because if you, for example, like let's do it on this. If you're watching the hourly on this and you see a pump up to here and a close above here, defer to the 4-hour then to see if you get a structure break on the 4-hour. If you do, then obviously you're going to engage along. Even on a 1-hour, on the 1-hour, you could potentially try and engage along, but it's a little bit more risky. And then just stick to the 5-minute, guys, at this moment in time. Honestly, if yours just doing sort of like this on the 5-minute, what I realized is if we were just doing this all the way down, probably would have caught many and many good shorts. And if this does happen to like pump up here now and close some new candles above here, then obviously defer to the hourly in the 4-hour and you can just pull a new bullish one. But I don't know, I don't really like that too much. It's not, I mean, maybe these kind of things did used to interest me a little bit, but because then it used to be the classic like breakout like that on odds. But I just don't think there's any liquidity for that this time around. Can you look at Aero Filecoin? Yes. Best way to hurt the most is whipping alts around. Looks like GLT will go soon. Up that is. Rounding bottom forming. Yeah, the rounding bottom. It's trying, bro. It's trying. And if it's crime season, GRT is probably one that is going to run. But I just, at this moment in time, like I said, if it breaks that on the hourly, I'll probably put a 5-minute stuber on my chart and maybe try catch a trade. But apart from that, I'm just not. I don't know. It does look like this whole structure here is grindy down, and it's trying to, you know, It's trying to do that. So I do see the vision. I definitely see the vision. It's just not at this moment in time. Again, show me something. Bang, I'll long it. Fine. Until then, I'm going to stay out of that pie. So what was it? It was... Yeah, Filecoin looks terrible, man. I actually have quite a decent amount of Filecoin, but it's all gone to shite. Yeah, Filecoin looks rough. New lows off the lows. Definitely a regain, though. I would say that... obviously, this is your high, sitting at around 34 cents. Done a decent regain on the hourly. So, like with GRT, this is exactly what you wanted to see. So, GRT was kind of doing this here, basically this, until we did that. So, when we did that, yeah, this one, that's when you engage your longs. Bang. And you could even do it on the 5 minute because it will look something like that on the 5 minute. So 5 minute, hourly, little higher high, little new close from there, a little higher high, bang, straight into the pocket, and then yeah, that's what I'd be looking at on GRT, and it'll look like that on the 5 minute. It'll just look very clearly like, oh, we made new highs, or we've closed new hourly. Nah, that's actually starting a little local uptrend. Now, I would say that you do not want to lose 2, 3, 4. I mean, just whatever this is here. If you lose that, then the whole thing's ruined. A nice test at the upside. It looks like it's squeezing. It looks like it wants to pop. However, we just don't really know with this market. Looks like it wants to pop. Apart from that, 5 minute has made a new low. So, again, potential for a little one in there. And if you, yeah, I mean, just potential. Very local structure break. And it's kind of just done a little local breakdown on the hourly just to retest that low. So we want to start getting, we want to come back and get above 2.6 or at least 2.5, 2.6. Not too bad though. Let's have a look at Aero. Aero was actually looking really good, wasn't it? There was 2 things that were looking actually quite good. Was it Aerodrome? Yeah, this was looking good. I remember looking at this. Hold on, this isn't the right chart though. Was it Aero USD? I feel like I've charted this already for you. No, okay. Best way to whisper what's right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I already read that. Yeah, so I remember looking at this and saying this actually looks really good. We're closing out new highs. It looks really good, and then we've actually done new close below. So this upside structure is done. But what you do have is you actually have a little local regain. So you could see a bit of a bounce. However, I would treat this as a bearish bounce right now. So what I'd do is I would, do this. I mean, actually, that's not a lower low on the price, but it has closed below. Actually, a little bit indecisive on this. We did close a new 4-hour low for sure, but it has just come in and held that. A little bit indecisive on this, actually. Let's have a look at the 4-hour. Okay, so yeah, I would just be cautious in this area if you do get up to it. However, for the time being, what you're just seeing is you're seeing some local trend change. So from the downtrend, which was the lows were here. What you're seeing is a very local new high. What is that? A local new high? Well, it's actually a retest. So what you're seeing is that being the higher low and that being the higher high so far. And so potentially you could do something like that, and that would be the lows. There might even be some high leverage in there. Let's go to the 4-hour. Where's the high leverage, sir? It is not there. It's around the 786. So there is high leverage on the 786 as well. Interesting. Potential little bounce trade here. I think this is going to fall back into this pocket and might give a decent, decent opportunity. For a little bounce. If that can hold there, bounce off, make a new high, actually come and test like 8-9, you're probably going to go, you know, in here, and then in here, and then all the way up to the highs. Yeah, not looking too bad. Looks a little bit indecisive. I would say that just if you are going to play this long, keep in mind that on the 4-hour, we definitely closed below. We definitely closed below here. So, yeah. But maybe a little bit of a bounce. Would be a decent one. 40-50%. Watch that. Watch these lows now. We're getting into some interesting stuff here, actually. On some coins. So, watch that stuff. Could see something. Yeah, had a look at GRT. It's kind of grinding down. Arrow looks decent. Fartcoin looks decent. Yeah, some of these coins looking decent. Injectives looking decent. Yeah, just be patient. Potentially, I am going to long some injective after this 4-hour close. Potentially. Let's see where it closes, though. Because we've still got 17 minutes left of this. And I am going to stop my recording now. Because I think that was a bit...